Hi, this is Linda and I'm back today to create 2 more projects using the Cocoa Daisy Cozy Season collection. So let's go ahead and dive right in. So in case you missed it, I shared another video earlier this month sharing my process for putting together my throwback layout, or whatever you want to call it, in my daughter's album for the month of October 2020. So these are the October 2024 kits from Cocoa Daisy. And I'm using these kits this year to document the current year, but I'm also using them to go back and fill in older years, the year of 2020 in my daughter's album. And I've been doing that each month by creating a pocket page layout. And I have a process video for that one where I talk a little bit about what I'm doing here as well. So if you haven't watched that video, I recommend watching that one first. And I will link that in the description box for you guys below. In addition to doing that pocket page, I'm also filling in additional stories in her album as needed. So we haven't really done many this year because usually I could find a way to include things in that pocket page, or I had already documented stuff. The month of October was super busy. We had a lot going on and I created that pocket page, but there were also photos from a few additional things that it was just too much to fit on that one pocket page. So I decided that I'm going to make a 9x12 insert that has 2 projects on it back to back from that month. So I'm just cropping out the photos here for the first one. So for the first one, what I'm going to do is document one day we went apple picking. So I have an assortment of photos here, and I'm going to do this on a 9x12 page. So I'm going to crop this white cardstock down to 9x12. This is just a 12x12 cardstock. I'm going to crop it. Is there something on it? No. It's a 9x12 for my layout size. And then I'm going to lay out my photos on here and create my spread. And I think for this one, I'm going to use just the scrapbook kit and the pocket card add-ons. So you can see kind of what you could do with just that kit. There's so much in there. For the other side, I have this photo I printed of my daughter from a hike that we took where we brought one of her best friends along with us. And I want to do another page that's using this. It's going to be pretty simple because the full page photo is kind of there were these die cut pieces in the stationery kit this month and I absolutely love them. And I'm thinking I'm going to lay them out on here and add a bunch of stuff on top of those. So I'm going to do this one first because I'm only going to pull from the scrapbook kit for this spread, which I have in here and here. And then once I've put this one together, I'm going to pull from all of my supplies to put together that second spread. Okay, so I'm doing this one first. And for this spread, what I did was I had gone onto my computer and looked back through my photos from this day. So this was October 10th, 2020. We went to go apple picking and they have animals there and pumpkins and apple cider donuts, and so we just made a day of it. So I selected some of my favorite photos from the day for my daughter's album. So I specifically focused on photos of her and a photo of all of us and some photos of me and her together. And I organized them in Photoshop Elements in this column. So this column is 4 inches wide by 12 inches tall. And I used the function on my computer in Photoshop Elements to mask the shapes. So basically what that means was I just drew a bunch of rectangles to fit into this shape, and then I masked the images into those rectangles so I didn't have to guess where to crop them, and then I could adjust them so that the photo fit the way I wanted it to. And then I printed all of those images out separately, and then I cropped them out and was able to lay them out on my white cardstock in the same format I had them on my screen. Now I'm just going through the cards and the papers in the kit to decide what I want to back this with. So I know I want the background to primarily be the white cardstock, which I use for most of my spreads, but I wanted to include some of the papers from the kit just to add a little bit more color behind my photos. And I end up going with that yellow pattern. I really like the colors in it. It kind of looks like little sunshines. I don't know if that's what it's supposed to be, but it looks like sunshines to me. So it kind of reminded me of the sunny day that we had. So I just cropped it down so it wasn't quite so wide to put it behind some of the photos. Now it doesn't go the full length of the page, and I definitely could have cropped some and added it to the top piece if I wanted this to go the full 12 inches. Or if you get the 12 by 12 papers, you could definitely do it with that instead. But for me, I was happy doing the 8-inch height because it did give me a great spot to put my title, which you will see in a little bit. So I didn't go all the way to the bottom of the page because what I'm going to do is use the washi tape and add a border across the bottom. When I do page spreads like this, I like to add something along the bottom of the page. I feel like it kind of like grounds the image a little bit. So I'm using this leaf washi that came in the scrapbook kit. It's super, super cute, and just trimming it off on the edges, which gives it more of a fall vibe. So that card, this is October documented. I'm definitely going to use that one. So I was kind of feeling out where I wanted it before I adhered down my photos. And I'm just going to slowly kind of go through and use rolling adhesive and line them up in this grid shape that I had already kind of laid out. You can see I didn't center them on that yellow cardstock, and that's so that I have some space to add my title on later. But I did want a little bit of a border on the left-hand side as well. And then the top photo there goes off of the background. And I kind of like how that looks with the stripe not going the full length. But like I said, you could definitely take that. I could have taken that other scrap, which you see there, and put that behind there to have that strip go all the way to the top. I end up trimming off the top because once human error in trimming out all of your images, it wasn't a full like 12 inches. So I just trimmed across the top to try to get it to be smooth, or like so the photos went all the way top. And it might be hard to see on the image, but my paper trimmer kind of messed up and tore my paper a little bit. So I'm trying to fix it with my scissors, and then I realized like there's this torn paper there. So what I ended up doing was just trimming one of the scraps of the yellow cardstock and adding it on top of there. Now, I would not have put that on there if I didn't tear the paper, because I liked having the bottom of the page have like the grounding stripe and then have the top of the page be lighter weight. But that's why I put a very thin strip at the top, and it ends up working out. So I'm happy with it. I trimmed off the October documented piece of this 3x4 card, and I used my corner rounder to round the top corners of it. And I'm just going to add it as an embellishment on the bottom of the spread. So if I had wanted some space for journaling, I could have used that entire card for sure and put that on there and had that extra journaling space, but I decided I didn't want to add the journaling. So that's something to keep in mind when doing these traditional layouts, just cutting out the words or the titles or the sentiments from your journal cards can make a really good embellishment for a traditional spread. Now I'm going to work on my embellishing now that I have like my primary structure of my layout. What I decided to do first for my embellishment clusters is use the rub-ons. Rub-ons are great for layering embellishments because they are so thin. When you rub them onto the paper, it's as if it was printed on your background image. Like there's no dimension at all, which I love for layering, because when I layer different embellishments to make a cluster, I'm always looking for different thicknesses so that you get that dimensional element to your spread. I'm not great with these rub-ons. So, you just rub it with the popsicle stick, and then I slowly check it to make sure that it actually came off onto the page, because sometimes it doesn't. And if you pull it up too fast, then you won't be able to put it back down to get it in the right spot. But these ones ended up working pretty well. I used that extra piece of a card just as a scrap there because I wanted to have this rub-on kind of go off the page, and I didn't want to do the rub-on onto my desk directly. And you can kind of see while you're rubbing it on that like the color gets a little fainter as it comes off the backing, but you do have to press pretty hard. And again, I'm just like checking it slowly to make sure that it was where I wanted it to be. So I had those two bases to my embellishment clusters, and then the next step is to figure out what I want to add for texture. So I started by grabbing my tiny attacher and just stapling down that October documented to add a little bit of volume. And then I went to my chipboard sheet and I pulled out this tag shaped one, and I ended up layering it at the top there because I liked the way that the two dimensions looked on with the leaves that were super flat and the chipboard that was dimensional. Now I'm moving on to put my title on. So I'm using the Puffy Alphas from the kit to write out apple picking. And I decided to start from this side, from the top, and just write it out. And it doesn't go all the way down. So in hindsight, I maybe should have started from the bottom and measured so that I got it more to like take up all of the space. But I do end up being happy with how it turns out in the end. What I end up doing is, you'll see after I put these down, I put some embellishments directly underneath it, and I end up moving them later because I felt like it was starting to look too busy. So that's something that I struggle with when doing traditional layouts, is that sometimes I feel like I need to edit myself more. Like I keep wanting to add more and more to the page, and sometimes it's good to have less embellishments and have like that white space. So you can see what I was talking about. There's some of that yellow left at the bottom, and I wanted to kind of fill it. So I brought over a piece of the washi tape and I put that down with one of the chipboard arrows pointing to my daughter. And I kind of like how it looks like looking at it on the video, but I ended up moving away from that and taking it off there because I felt like it was drawing attention away from the embellishment cluster that I put at the bottom of the spread. So you don't want like too many embellishment clusters because then it's going to start to look busy. So I really wanted to focus on just having the one at the bottom and then the small one at the top right. I cut one of the labels out of the pattern paper to add my date on. So I'm using a rolling date stamp from my stash. And just, I was actually looking through my rolling date stamps because I'm looking for 2020. So this was in 2020, and all of my rolling date stamps started in 2023. So I had to go look in my desk to find one that started in that had 2020 on it to put the date on this label. So that's another tip from this kit, was using this label paper. So this pattern paper just had these cute labels on it, and you definitely could use it just as a pattern paper, but cutting them out gives you so much more to work with because now you have all of these different labels that you can use. So I was able to add the date on perfectly in that little label there. And here you see me pulling that washi tape and arrow back up. Okay, so I decided I did want to include the arrow on there, so I added it to the left, just pointing in there, and decided to call the spread done. And now I'm going to move on to my second one. So I really liked how that first one came out, but I really, really love this one. I feel like this one, it was just one of my favorites. And I have done this same idea of or formula for a page in the past, and it's just so much fun. So basically what I did was I took the die cut set of their label die cut stickers that came in the stationery kit, and I'm using them to lay out all over the top of this photo, on this full page photo, and just create a collage of all of these labels. Now, I definitely could have laid them all out perfectly before I started tearing anything down, but I didn't feel like it, and I decided to just kind of go for it and fill in the gaps as I go. I really loved how this turned out with all of these are earthy tones. It works so well for the fall foliage that's in my photo. And I love this photo of my daughter and her then best friend. This was when she was a sophomore in high school, and it's just a very cute photo that I'm sure she will be happy to have in her album. So I'm just going ahead and adhering all of these down. That one I kind of messed up peeling off the packing, so I just added a little bit of rolling adhesive to make sure it was stuck in place. And I'm just adding all of these labels on here and not really worrying too much about filling all the space. What I was trying to do, though, was to make sure that they weren't in a perfect grid, because a lot of these are rectangles and I didn't want them to fully be lined up. I wanted it to look a little more scattered, I guess is the right word. And I was happy to have some of them kind of going off the edge of the page, and I will go ahead and trim all of those edges off once I get everything put in place.
So I do realize that I don't have enough labels to fill the entire space, but that's fine because I can cut more labels out of that pattern paper, and the labels in the pattern paper match the labels in this die cut set, but they are smaller, so it gives me more flexibility with filling in the little gaps. I also can pull in some of the other embellishments from the kit, and you will see that I will pull over some chipboard pieces and some other things as I'm going about adding down all of the labels. So I'm just deciding where to fit everything, and I think I end up using every single one of the label stickers, which I'm super excited about because I've been in a very stash busting kind of mood lately, wanting to kind of use up products. I have definitely gone through phases in my scrapbooking history where I have been a hoarder of supplies and trying to keep my favorite products for like that perfect layout. And more recently, I've really kind of come to terms with the fact that there is no such thing as the perfect layout. And the perfect layout is the one that you're working on right now, and to like just use the supplies. So I'm very happy that I was able to use all of those. And I pulled one of the label ones from one of the other sets. That was the one that was in the scrapbooking kit to put in that top right corner. And then I added one of the tags from the chipboard pieces. And I again added another chipboard arrow to this one to fill that little gap. You can see here I'm going back and cutting out some of the labels from the pattern paper to fill in some of the smaller gaps, just so that I have like this complete kind of grid of labels. And then I'm going to go about the fun business of filling in the labels, which I'm super excited about. And so I just wanted to have a small one here to put above their heads to fill in that gap. And then I'm going to trim off all of the edges and call the like background portion of this layout done. I think I really enjoy doing spreads with this style because it's so much fun to just kind of fill in all of the spots. I think I really like to make layouts like this where you are creating homes for words and embellishments, and then you go back and fill in all of those words and embellishments. So I'm just cutting off all of these edges and having it be smooth to the edge of the page, which is super easy to do. But because they're sticker back, so it was a little bit like harder to have them not stick to the scissors. But because they're sticker back, they don't shift while you're cutting, so it makes it easier in that respect. So I was kind of looking at it and just coming up with what I wanted to do in terms of decorating the spread. And the first thing I decided to do was pull over my alpha stamps. Oh wait, am I going to add another piece? I know I was considering it. I think it's by that orange label in the bottom right there. I felt like there was kind of a gap on the edge on the side of the label. And let's see if that's where I put this. Yep, that's exactly what I was thinking. And I could totally keep adding it to the background and go all the way down on the rock on the sides of them, but I decided that this looked full at this point. And now what I'm going to do, I'm going to add the rolling date stamp. So I have some notes off camera of when we did this, where we went. And so I wanted to add just some of those basic facts. Now, of course, this happened in 2020, October of 2020. So it's been a few years. So I don't remember that many details other than what I had written down. So I can't really add some longer journaling. But what I can do is add the name of the hike that we went on, which is what I'm stamping here. These are my favorite alpha stamps. They're just something I picked up on Amazon, and I have them linked in the description box below if you're interested in them. But what I'm doing is just like stamping out the name of the trail. I'm also going to stamp out the kids' names. And I don't remember what else I do, but I do fill in some of these different rectangles with stamped words. And I really love the way that it fills out each of these. So this is the Overlook Mountain Trail, which is what I was stamping there. And then I'm trying to decide what to put in some of these other boxes. So some of them I will add stamping, some of them I will add embellishments, and I'm just kind of trying to come up with what to include in everything. So here, I decided to just stamp out the word hiking because that's clearly what we were doing. And like I said, it's hard to kind of remember this much later. But here I'm putting the girls' names. Obviously, I'm always going to remember my daughter's name, but at some point, maybe I won't remember who this other kid is. So it's nice to put the name down there. I'm assuming she will always remember who it is, but you never know. So I'm adding that, and then I'm moving on to decide what else I want to include in some of these other shapes. I find this part to be the most fun in a spread like this because I get to just pull all of the different embellishments from the kit. And my favorite, I think I did actually do another stamping one, you can see. But my favorite thing with doing a spread like this is working with a kit because you have like a ready-made selection of supplies to pull from. So this collection was very fun to use for a spread like this. I would have a much harder time doing this type of spread using just my stash because you just have too many choices. And here I have just a couple of choices that I've allowed myself. I have my stamps for just those alphabets, and then I have all of the pieces from this collection. So I pulled over these puffy stickers from the scrapbooking kit, and I decided to use them to add some larger words on a couple of these shapes. Now these letters are much bigger than the stamped ones, so I can only add short words, but I added the word fun on there. And then hi pumpkin, I'm thinking about other words that I can add. While I'm working on this, I also pulled over some of the chipboard pieces. I added an arrow on there, and I think I'm going to add a leaf on another one, but I'm just kind of going through the kit and the collection and trying all of the different things. So here, I take a sticker. This is from the stationery kit, and put it on one of the glittery leaf stickers. Or maybe I'm doing a couple of them, and that one adding on there because there was a little bit of space beneath the word hiking, and just going through all of the stickers and trying to see what I can end up using to fill in all of these labels. And a lot of these labels have decorations on them already, so you don't really have to fill all of them in, but honestly, it's so much fun. It's fun to go through and fit things in there and see what fits and what doesn't, and just play around with it. So I decided to add the one of the word phrase strips from the cousin sticker kit, and the word Saturday also from the cousin sticker kit, because this was a hike we went on a Saturday. And I went and checked on my iPad to Google the date and make sure that it was in fact the Saturday. So I decided to use more of these puffy alphas, and I wrote the word love at the top. Just, it was just a fun, easy word that fit the sentiment of the spread and fit perfectly in that box. And then what I end up realizing towards the end here, I think here, yes, I realize I have the stamp set that also comes in the scrapbooking kit. And you guys, I'm so bad at remembering to use these stamps on my spreads. You guys need to remind me, because I always love when I do. The stamp quality from Cocoa Daisy is just great. Like, these just stamp so well. So I took some of the sentiments and I'm just stamping them on the few of the remaining labels, and just kind of like I was holding it over to see if I wanted to put it there. And so I'm stamping one here, and I don't remember what it says. It says like autumn memories on top of that one. And then I think I'm going to do another one of the smaller phrases on that top label. That is like the last one that I didn't add anything on at the top there. Yep. And just adding another little sentiment. And these like little tiny sentiments stamp so crisp. I'm just using StazOn ink and just stamping it on there. And now I'm kind of like wishing I had left more space, or more of them empty, to use some of these stamps. But I did stamp then on that orange one down there, and I'm adding a puffy leaf from these stickers, which I think these are my favorite thing in this kit. I love these puffy stickers so much. And so I'm just adding a few of them onto a couple of the labels, and then I think I'm going to call this one done. Here is a look at both of my completed spreads. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. And as always, I hope to see you guys all in the next one. Bye.